Let's start. Hi all, good morning, good afternoon, and evening to all the attendees of the webinar today. Thank you and really appreciate for taking a valuable time and attending this webinar. So this webinar for today is the Data Archiver and Service Cloud, and this is an interesting topic as we see most of our customers fall under this category where they have Service Cloud implementation done and they're using the Service Cloud for a while and they have certain challenges with respect to data growth, and how to address that is what we're going to discuss in today's webinar. So before we get started, some general housekeeping activities. If you have any questions related to the webinar, please do post in the chat and we would be answering those questions at the end of the webinar. We kept this webinar short and sweet. It's a half an hour webinar wherein to 25 minutes we're going to spend on this topic, give you an overview of what we're going to cover today, and then the last 5 minutes would be for the Q&A, so that we can take some of the questions of this webinar. So let me introduce ourselves. So my name is Harish Kumar. I head the product division, and then with me I have my colleague, Mr. Rakesh Rao, who is a sales head. So good morning, Rakesh, and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, Harish. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the webinar. So hope this will be a great learning session for all you guys. So thank you for joining us for this short webinar.
All right, so we are all set to start. So starting off with what is the learning objective that is going to have within the next few minutes that we're going to have this. The first thing that we're going to discuss is about the Service Cloud, not going in depth because everybody knows about Service Cloud, just going to give an overview, very broad level overview of where the Service Cloud stands with respect to Salesforce. Then we're going to go into depth on the backend part of it, which is the data usage. And we're going to talk about, with a lot of our interaction with a lot of customers, what are the challenges they generally face and with related to data, and what are their expectation in terms of fixing those data usage challenges. Then we're also going to cover a little bit on the ServiceMax as App Exchange product, which is also being parallelly used for most of the service customers, and then we'll cover on that part as well. And then finally, there will be two use cases we will love to highlight. One use case is related to a logistic company, and then what were their challenges with respect to Service Cloud implementation, and then how we address that. And finally, on one of the electronics company that we implemented, how it was done, and then what were their challenges. So these are the two use cases that we are also going to address in this session today. So to start off, this is the fourth series that we are doing, the episodes that we are doing. Last three episodes covered starting with digital transformation, then we had certain topic on governance. We also covered specific to domain specific customers, what were their challenges, and today we're talking about the Salesforce product itself, which is the Service Cloud, and then adoption of customers using the Service Cloud and their few challenges that they face on the data aspect, and then how they wanted to ensure that the data growth is not a growing concern in the near future. And that's not something which you're going to address today. Let's start with the Service Cloud. If you see, Service Cloud is already a number one customer service platform which is Salesforce provides, and it has so many tools and services that helps customers to give a better services to their customers. And this really is very important because to have a better customer satisfaction, it has to be very important that the cases, the entire resolution is all solved as per the SLA, so that they can create a good brand value and also give a better support to the customers. So and that's where Service Cloud is the framework, or you can say the backbone of most of the companies, enterprise customers who use this to ensure that their service and support to the customer is good. So when we talk about Service Cloud, here we're talking about, and this data is always from our perspective, when we talk to customers, where are they see the data consumption pattern when they're using the Service Cloud. We see that most of the customers who are using Service Cloud have a lot of interaction that happens through emails, and email is their primary thing, and they integrate with Salesforce as well. And then that is something which is available as part of the cases, and which they discuss, the agents talk about it. So those all conversation that happen, the email is the key aspect where the data is increasing. And then related to it, if you see, there are a lot of tasks, case comments, field history record that has been created, and overall the cases. So if you see a specific customer, any customer that we talk, one case has so many relationship. And then if you have to go a simple smaller implementation, customer also have one case record with so many records, so many data of that particular case, whether it's an email that has been going on, or case comment that is happens, or related task, or more. Sometimes even customers have their own custom object that is built on top of the cases so that it can give a proper support. So each record has multiple child records which is associated with it. So this is the general data consumption pattern that we see, and that this is where I'm putting the base, saying that what is that they are looking when it comes to the data usage and challenges. The service cloud customers, if you see, is always revolves around the service console, and that's the where everybody focuses on, and that's how service agents is able to get a view of the customer whenever the customer comes through a CTI integration. When they call up the customer, the account is automatically pulled up, and they can see their cases, they're able to see their tasks, events, and everything, and able to provide a support. And when they talk about anything, hey, we have these data challenges, what we need to do, they say we need to have the customer information in hand. They cannot be segregated somewhere, or we can use some other platform, because by the time we are on the call, you cannot segregate between this tab and that tab. So for customers, for these agents, it is important that they're able to see the cases, whether it's archived, non-archived, whether it is backup, they don't care. Cases, when a customer calls, they need to see that particular account, their customer related information, their email history, their tasks, so that they are able to provide a better support. And that's the very critical challenge which they have, wherein it comes to any data or anything that they want to interact with the customer, they need all the information right under their one single window. So with that said, when we talk about archiving to them, and we say, okay, we are fine with archiving. So what are the what do you think about archiving? And when they say archiving for the case, they say that we are okay to archive when it is a case which is 3 to 5 years old. Is it closed or cancelled, or it can be inactive cases? And these are the segregation that they can do on the cases, which is more than certain age old. And also there are some cases scenarios wherein they say that these are the cases which they want to keep it in the system because they are critical, these customers are critical, or might be their high net worth customer they are catering to. So those certain criteria exemption also are there in terms of which cases they want to keep it. If that is something which is achievable, they will love to have some kind of archiving solution. Now when it comes to when it is archived, if they want to have this data viewed, when they want to see it, the key thing is, yes, we want to see that data viewed in the service console itself. Yes, we need to search the cases, we need to see the details, we need to see those emails, we need to have the visibility of this archive data in the same manner that we have it today. The sharing rule that is applied for different agents, it has to follow. We cannot just archive everything and show it one shot all the details to everybody. It has to follow the same pattern. If that is something that can be done on the view, and the view cannot be different from what they're using today. You cannot give a different UI aspect to it, and then somebody has to get trained to know how to look into it, how to view it. So the viewing experience also should not be tampered with. And the other aspect, which is the restore part of it, and then when we covered with them, is some of the times they wanted to see that, hey, because when you archive the data, generally it is more like a view only mode. Now it is not a live data. So they wanted some specific cases, if they are working on it and they see that, hey, this case is something done, and then we wanted to just bring it back and then do some edits, and again work with the customer to do that. How is that possible? And if it is possible, can it be a controlled one? Not all the data we wanted. Is it possible that we're able to restore the data back? And for some reason, if you are keeping some P2 information, which is personal information of the customer, in an encrypted format in the archive as well, you need to bring it in a decrypted format so that they can do some processing on that. And the final part is when you're bringing that case record, and technically the same case number doesn't comes in back, it comes as a new record, but no automated process has to run on those restored data as well. So these are the very high level. When we talk to multiple customers, we see this. These are the key things which they are primarily looking when you talk about a data management strategy. So this is one aspect of it. And then the reason we want to cover a service max, which is app exchange product, is there are some customers who has a field service management, which is very important because they provide technical support to the customers. They have some technician which has to be visiting to the customers to provide the support. In those scenarios, they use this service max product. And when we also talk in the backend, what are the challenges, we see that work orders, case activity, tasks, and Those are the things which also in the backend, creates a huge amount of data continuously, and how to make sure that this data which is just building up in the Salesforce, how that can be controlled and that's the reason we want to bring Service Max also, because it's more related to customer management and providing a customer support. And this is the reason Service Max is also, we thought to bring it in today's webinar. Having said all of this, with related to the Service Cloud and what they have, as a data point of view, which they are looking as a data management strategy, let's talk about one use customer success story that we're talking about today is a logistic company. This, if you talk about logistic company, they handle this customer is second largest private freight brokerage company in the USA. They do more than 30,000 shipments daily. The email messages, if you see in the scenarios, are like more than 20k plus email that they do, and they cater to around 100,000 customers eventually, right? And when we talk about logistics, it's all about email. It's all about tracking the shipments. It's all about the tracking numbers and stuff like that. And if you see, when we talked to this customer, we saw that the email is something is which they interact more, right? Right from the day a customer comes in and have a package, one email is sent to them with the tracking number on the subject line, and that's how all the interactions happens. Whether the all the tracking status updates is being sent through this email till the closure, till that is been delivered to the end customer, right? So this email messages is the key thing where they see in their own ecosystem that it is just increasing day by day, and then they need to find a solution where how they're going to just make sure that there is some data management strategy over it. So this particular customer was happy to have a big object as a solution, because it is a native solution which is available with Salesforce. And the key thing is, since the email message itself is increasing in a rapid rate, they don't want to do like a 2 year 3 year kind of thing. They want to see that can we do this 128 days of data that can be pushed in. And the other aspect which they want to see it, we wanted to search on the tracking number, because sometimes, because since they are trying to push this email messages to archive system, and some of the information are pretty new, and then in some point of time customer might come back after some while that, hey, this parcel was never reached, or can you just check on the tracking? I couldn't see that tracking status update on my thing. So the support team has to look into those tracking number and able to pull those archived stuff, so that they can give a better support. If that is something which it can be achieved, this is one of the biggest thing they feel that it won't hamper the business, and also able to have a data management strategy. And this is something which we will allow you to show through a demo. Rakesh, I'll appreciate if you can just quickly show, this particular part, how we address the scenario with this customer, and how we are able to give them a solution that helps them for data management, plus they are able to store, save huge on the data storage. So over to you, Rakesh.
Yeah, thank you, Harish. This is a use case which was explained beautifully by you. So right, so let me go to a specific thing in terms of how we manage to provide the solution for this specific use case. Now, so what you are seeing is here as a DA component. That means the record what I'm showing you here is an archived record. So now, if you see that this is a case, and then under this case, there are multiple email messages which is already archived. So that means, as we were discussing earlier, that after 120 days, any email messages will go to archiving. So that means all these messages are 120 days old, and then it is archived. So, but still, you are able to see this under the case record. So under the parent case record. And if I go to a view of this, so if I view all this, this is all the email messages attached with this case. Now, so the one of the thing what the customer wanted was, can we search by using a tracking ID or airwaybill number? So that's exactly the solution which we have given to them. So because when the agent is providing the service to the customer, so customer always talks from the point of airwaybill number. Airwaybill number is the reference for any communication which happens in the logistics industry. So from that point of view, so they wanted to track and view all the email messages from the airwaybill point of view. So now you have the case under this. These are all email messages, which is a conversation which has happened on this case, and then there are multiple tracking IDs associated with this case. So because they have sent multiple packages, so and then they have created the case, customer has created the case for this. So now if I go and in the quick find, if I put the airway bill number or the tracking ID, so you will be able to access exactly the tracking number, and then you will be able to view, so what is the issue with this. So sometimes what happens is, even though you have archived after 120 days, so there might be cases that customer might come back saying that, so I did not receive the package. So that is where the customer wanted to see. So from the customer point of view, whether it is an archived email message or the live email message, it is available under the live record. So and then they were able to see what is the status of this. So the exact case was shipping status not updated and unable to track. So that is where we were able to even though it is an old email, so we were able to see and then give an access to the old email record also, and then they were able to search from the airway bill number. So this is one of the case which has helped the customer a lot in terms of because as Harish was explaining, so there was lot of email messages which were generated, and every airway bill used to generate one email message. So from that point of view, managing that in the live Salesforce database is a Herculean task, and then the data used to grow very fast. So with this archiving, so they were able to save in terms of the cost, in terms of the performance improvement, and then they were able to manage and keep the limit of the data growth as well. So this is a fantastic solution which we had provided to one of the biggest logistics companies in the US. Yeah, Harish, back to you.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. Thanks for showing that, how we achieved that particular customer's challenge on that logistic issue. One other interesting story which we love to share today is on an electronics company. This company is specifically into having a lot of lighting products for consumers and enterprise. They have a lot of household accessories that they build, and also personal care products for men and women. So they have a lot of electronics stuff that is being widely used globally. And for this particular customer, they are using Service Max, and that's why we want to add it here. Interestingly, because when you have so many products, there are a lot of warranties and services that has to be happen to those products. And the service agent, that framework is being there using the Service Max, where they are getting those as soon as the case is there. They create a work order. The technician has to go to the customer, and also once that is being done, how the technician resolves it, and finally the data is come back to the same customer service console, wherein they're able to provide that particular support to the customer once it has been done. So all this mechanism happens through a service console. So for a customer in this particular scenario, service console is the key thing, because that is the way the agents are able to cater to multiple requests from customers across the globe. They're able to handle the cases well. They're able to give work orders and then dispatching the technicians. So it's a complex thing, and then all this network happen within the service console framework. So for them, the data, definitely, as you say, looking at the scenario, the same thing. The data is a key challenge, and they wanted to make sure that if they want to archive data, they want to archive something which is more than 5 years old. And mostly all closed cases is what they're looking. And even if it is a closed cases, if there is some or archived cases, if it is associated to a customer who is just recently been calling for some other issues, they wanted to see what was the history behind with this customer, what was the cases that was raised by this customer, any concerns on that. They might cross check on that. So they want to see this data as well. Even if it is archived, they wanted to get this data into the same service console, so that they can give a better support. In addition to that, in some cases, there is a different scenario wherein they also want to make sure they're able to restore the data back, and that has to be done in a controlled way, wherein they want to make sure that only specific manager or specific profile has the authority to restore the data, because they don't want to bring all of the data, but on a specific conditions, or if that is met, they want to make sure that data is restored, so that they can work on those data for that particular customer. So this were the requirement for this particular customer, and then service console being in the main part of it, and to showcase all the archive data was the key thing. And then I guess Rakesh, we would love you to show us the service console, and then how our data archiver component is fits there, and how you're able to show those cases within the service console. And then if this can be, can you show us a quick demo on that as well?
Right. Yeah, thanks, Harish, again. So I am in Service Console, and if you look at it, so there is an account which our customer is servicing, so which is called TGT Electronics. So TGT Electronics has there are a lot of archived cases here. So that means, so there is a lot of services which is provided by the customer. So in this case, he is able to view these cases. So when there is an agent who is associated with this case, so he's looking at when they're looking at this case, so he wants to see what is the history of this customer. So, and then what are the queries which he had raised earlier. So that is where it is very important to see that. So under this account, so you are able to, even though you are archived the data, you are able to see all the cases under this. So now, so even though it is archived, so it is available in the live system under the parent record. And so once he goes to a particular case, so he'll be able to see the case history. He'll be able to see what are the events which are created. So what is the thing which we have done for this particular case. So he knows everything about it. So from that point of view, so data is available to the service agent in the console itself. So that means, so for the user it is seamless. So the experience is seamless, whether it is an archive data or it is coming from the Salesforce storage. So it doesn't have any impact for him. So for him, it is under service console, and he is able to access all the data which is required for him. One of the requirements for this customer is that use case is that, so they don't want any service agent to restore randomly those cases. So in case if they want to restore the cases, they have to go to a higher authority and request for restore. So that is where, so let's say agent is not able to restore, and he has to go to his agent manager, let's say. So then he will request agent manager, and he will be able to restore this data back. So assuming that case they want to reopen some old cases, so in that case they can restore it back as well. So in that case what it will happen is that, so if you look at it, so there are as Harish was explaining you, so depending on the profile, so we have given an option to restore. So depending on the user profile, so they can give an access whether they can restore or not. In this case, so if you see this is a manager console, and the restore is available for him. So just by clicking this button, so he can bring this case back to the Salesforce live record, and then they can start working on this case and then start editing this and then adding more to this case. So this is one of the use case which we provided for our customer who's into electronics, right? So and they were very happy with the solution what we have provided, because for the service agent also it is seamless. For anybody who is looking at it also, it doesn't matter whether it is archived or whether it is in the Salesforce system, and they were able to save a lot of cost, and in terms of system performance also, this has helped them tremendously in helping in terms of system performance as well, right? So this is a second use case, and this has helped the customer in a great way in his business, right? So yeah, I would like Harish to take it forward from here.
Thank you, Rakesh, to showing the service console part of it. So just to give you overview, most of the customers comes. It is not just one or two industries. There are multiple industries, whether it is the education industry that we work with, even we work with government agencies, and we see that cases and email has been a critical thing when it comes to the data strategy, and they need to come up with a strategy, and that's how our product is able to position them. Not only that, in terms of if you see from a Salesforce overview per se, There are a lot of data which is just lying there unused. There are closed history, there are old emails, there are lost opportunities. All of these are likely candidate that can be pushed into archive system. And then if you have an ability that you can bring those closed leads whenever you require for any audit or your own requirement for reporting, somewhere we need to bring it back. There's always a thing that you can run on the archive data as a query and then able to get those reports as well. So just a few things that our product support is. Number one is 100% native. We support big object, and some of the customers who are so specific that we don't want the data to be out of the Salesforce ecosystem, then big object is something which they always love to go. We also support external storage system, which is also a key thing where customers that can utilize their existing data center or databases which they currently support, how they can extend it as an archiving system. We also help them to integrate that as well. The key thing that if you see from all of this thing is the data integrity part of it. There are a lot of complex data integrity challenges which whenever we and each case is different. Some customers which have a very complex relationship on how they handle how the business processes are, and then having this data integrity while archiving is also a key part of it, so that once when they want to restore it, they're able to see it in the same way, as well as when they want to view it, we also make sure that the data integrity is maintained. This is all about the webinar in terms of Service Cloud. The next webinar series that we are trying to do is on the data connectiva, and this connectiva is something a product that helps you to connect to various other databases. And it's an interesting topic because a lot of customers you use AWS, Google, Azure platform, Heroku, and those systems can be integrated, and then data can be moved to this kind of relational database. Big object is a big data system, but then relational database is also a good way of handling and archiving this data. So please do register for this webinar for June, so that we can talk about certain aspects of the data connectivity, what databases it helps to connect, and what is its advantages over how to use it, and what are the features that is available that we can really explore in the next session. So having said that, I am opening the podium for any Q&A, and if you have any questions, we will love to hear. Okay, so there's one question that came. If you don't want to run any automated process like triggers, process builder on restored record, what is the way to do it? Yes, there are one or two ways that we can do. One is through some custom settings we can set it up. One other way is using specific user who has the authority to do the restore, and then we can write a bypass code to make sure that that particular user's insertion is not taken into consideration. And these are the ways wherein mostly customer implemented to ensure that the new restored data which comes as a new record, there is nothing that triggers on top of those records, because customers just usually have a lot of processes that runs on the existing data. So we want to make sure that that doesn't get impacted. All right. The next customer, I see that if we have case object and its child objects, and we want to archive case comments or email messages separately, can we do that? Yes, while setup, if it is a part of the master detail relationship, you need to ensure that all this objects are also part of the archiving system. But if I understood your question clearly, it is more about, can I run parallel archiving on these objects? Yes, because we provide that, and that helps you with overcoming the platform challenges also. Because if you go one by one case record has 5,000 records, and then it goes in that process of archiving this data, sometimes it takes time. So if you can run parallelly, we also provide that option that you can also have email messages separately done, and then cases done separately, and then finally when you have a integrated data which is available in the archiving system, so that helps you to have the data moved to the archiving system sooner. Yes, it's possible. Yes. So one question is the archive data stayed for a certain time or is forever? Yes, archive data is your data. It is more about which configuration that you do. It is not kept in some other system. It is all configured. Big object is configured through your Salesforce instance itself. Likewise, this archive data can be is available to you forever, whether the product is there or not there. Once the data is being archived, you have the ability to, if it is there big object, Einstein supports it, and then you can query on top of the big object and get all the data, and that is with you. It's not necessarily part of the product. It's just a solution that helps you to archive, but as the data, it is always yours. Do you support GDPR? Yeah, GDPR, we see it is more like a guidance in terms of, are we aligned with those few things as a pillars of GDPR? Are we compliant with it? Yes, we like a platform. Platform itself is compliant. We are also compliant with the product platform as well. Salesforce also has come up with multiple options wherein you can enable the GDPR within your Salesforce org, and then you can have a individual account that can be created with multiple GDPR options, and accordingly you can filter those data, which if a customer is saying that I don't want to process my data, you can ensure that that query is being passed in such a way that you don't consider those data for archiving. And for some reason the data is there, somebody want to have a visibility, somebody wants to do that, because GDPR means reporting as well. So you can create a report, you can download the data, all those things we also support from a GDPR standpoint as well. So having said that, we okay, yeah. So great. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your time being part of the session. Anytime you can reach out to us at contact@dataarchiva.com. If you have any questions specific to your requirement, we'll be happy to assist you, and then take it forward from there. So thanks again. I really appreciate your time for today morning. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.
Thanks for joining.